Right. One, two, three. I'm looking for the confirmation. There we go. Hello, everyone. I am back with Marcus Vine of Warlord Games. Hello, Marcus.
Hello, Bo. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to be back.
And we are here to speak about BritCon and the Bolt Action Grand Tournament that I think you and Warlord Games have an extra large hand in this year here.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, first off, we were really keen to have the grand tournament back. We wanted to get the GT back after
Yeah,
obviously all the issues with COVID, where nobody could travel.
yeah,
Um, and it was something that was missing from the community. You look at a lot of other games and they have that one big focal point where
yeah.
everyone comes together and plays. And
The
obviously in America,
GT organized by the company
exactly.
itself, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that is always like that's the big thing for many game companies, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in America, for example, it's a little bit different because you've
Yeah,
got all the huge conventions.
yeah,
But for the UK and Europe and the rest of the world, those company run GTs are such an important part
they are.
of the competitive community. And it's something that we really wanted to bring back as a celebration of competitive bolt action. And,
Yeah,
just saying, hey, we're all here, we're all like minded people. We all love playing bolt action competitively. We all love tournaments. We all love playing, the right way, hard
yeah,
but fair,
yeah,
and having fun and having a great weekend and
yeah.
getting everyone together. So we were super keen to bring it back. Um,
And this is going to be at BritCon in Nottingham. Is that
That's
right?
correct. Yes. So we were looking for venues that would be appropriate for it. Obviously, the last grand tournament before COVID, we used like a university film studio center
Yeah,
that was actually just around the corner from our headquarters. We considered that, but there's been a lot of things with that where maybe that was not the best solution for us and
mm,
for the players. So it was kind of by chance, really. I got talking to Gaz and Colin Betts from the British Historical Gaming Society,
yeah,
who, we've done a lot of work with historically. We
yeah,
know them very well, and they put a lot of really good events on. And we were just kind of talking about BritCon and the bolt action tournament there. And I kind of just suggested, well, hey guys,
we could.
It's in Nottingham this year. It's moved from Manchester.
Mm,
Why not make this the grand tournament?
yeah,
And they said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that. So this is, yeah, in partnership with the British Historical Gaming Society, BritCon is hosting the
mm.
Bolt Action Grand Tournament. And I think that's, it's a new thing for us. It's a little bit different from how we've done it previously. But
And
I
it will
think,
also be in a collaboration with a lot of other game systems and companies as well, right?
yeah, absolutely. So there's, it's at BritCon, which is, it's
Yeah,
obviously its own competitive convention. So there's going to be
yeah.
so much to see and do. And it's going to put Bolt Action in front of a lot of players of other
Yes,
games,
yes,
which I always want to do, because
yeah.
bolt action on good tables with good looking armies with people having fun is such a good advert for our community.
It is.
And let's be honest, we want all those people playing those other games that aren't as fun as bolt action to go, God,
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
wish I was
come on.
having fun playing bolt action.
Have a try at this. The first one is free, like all
Yeah.
good, like all good drugs. The first one is free, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So then so it's going to be at the convention itself. It's in the middle of Nottingham, like literally it's
Yeah,
at Nottingham Trent University, which is where I very briefly went to university. But it's a really lovely venue in the middle of the city. The transport links are so good, like it's
yeah,
on the tram line.
yeah.
um we honestly couldn't have asked for a more perfect venue for it. And so when this opportunity came up, we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
And very much central UK.
Yeah.
I
Um,
know that the UK is sort of built a little bit weirdly with a lot of people living in the south and around London, of
yeah.
course. But this is central for. I mean, and there's a huge Scottish community that can easily get down to Nottingham. It's not that much of a hassle for international players either. So how many people are you actually aiming for with this GT?
So we're aiming for 80 plus.
Yeah,
Obviously 80 is kind of what we'd like to see as our sort of not our minimum, but that's like a number we'd be really happy with for this year. And obviously the year on year, we want it to get bigger.
Wanted to
But
grow,
obviously after so long off with no GT, 80 for us, 80 to 82 is perfect. And if more people come, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And 82, obviously 80, 82 puts it into tier 4 of the tournament support scheme. Like that matters, but there's going to be a lot of goodies in terms of prizes, including some, genuine GT only bits and bobs, like the trophy, the big trophy.
So can you give us a little bit of a hint about what people are going to see when they come there? The terrain, because obviously one of the main draws for bold action is the rather lovely tables that many bold action events put on. Whereas we see some other game systems and the tables have gotten more and more sparse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think one thing, I don't want to give, too much away. I don't want to say, oh, there'll be this many city fights and this many jungles. But I think we can expect to see some pretty terrain dense tables. So I think it's going to make for some really interesting tactical play. I think people with lists that rely on, lots of howitzers sitting on their backline, they might want to think twice about that. We're going to see a lot of line of sight blocking, a lot of difficult terrain. I think we're going to see some really interesting tables. And of course, they're going to look fantastic as well.
Sounds good. Is all the terrain something that Warlord will be providing themselves, or are you actually community sourcing for this event as well?
So this is community source. This is from the Betses very kindly. We may end up providing some additional as well, but the Betses have got such a lovely stockpile of terrain that they're just ridiculous. I've helped unload their van for events before, and it's a van that's just floor to ceiling with great terrain. And it lets us have these really good, dense, interesting boards where every game it feels like you actually really have to play the table as well as your opponent and as well as your list, which is one of the key things for me of competitive play.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So can we also say something about maybe pack and missions and stuff like that, or is that still super hush hush?
So we have the tournament pack that is out, and we'll put a link to that in the video description.
Link in description,
So the missions itself aren't listed yet. However, obviously the selectors are, and the selector is really interesting. So it is a split army list selector. So there is a 750 point part of the tournament and a 1250 point part of the tournament. And the way that is done is you write your 750 and that is locked in, and then you add 500. So the list has to stand up on its own 2 feet at 750, and then you add to support it for the 1250s.
Will it be single platoon, or will you allow dual platooning?
So it is single platoon. And it is there's some interesting things with selection. So obviously the first thing you do is you choose your nation, then you choose your theater, and then you choose your year. And then what you do is you use the most appropriate theater selector, or a generic selector, of course, to represent that force. So for example, you might go with Germany, North African theater, and the year of 1942. And obviously there'll be prizes for the best themed list as well. So that allows for people to really kind of have solid guidelines in place as to what they're taking. So obviously with the theatre selectors in play, that does allow for some powerful armies.
It does allow for some really interesting play, yes.
But crucially, the 750 also has additional limitation, which is at the 750, no unit or vehicle may have a damage value higher than 6+. So we're on soft skins only for the 750s. Soft skins only.
Ooh.
So that's going to be really interesting. That's going to stop at the 750. Things like Stuart spam.
Yes, it is.
We're going to see people having to add those in at the 1250, and deciding whether that's the thing they want to use, some of those 500 points for, or whether they want more dice. I think it's a really cool, a really interesting, and a little bit unique as well in terms of
I
the
haven't really
limitations.
heard about this before. No, although there are people playing around with that with two sizes. How many games is actually going to be played?
So we have one game on the Friday evening.
Yeah.
Then we have 4 games on the Saturday and 2 games on the Sunday. So we actually have 7 games. So this is a long haul, proper
That is
big
a
weekend.
really long, proper tournament. How
Yeah.
much of that is going to be 750? How much is going to be 12?
So the first game on Friday is a 1250.
Okay.
Then Saturday, game 1, 750. Game 2, 1250. Game 3 and 4, both 750. And then on Sunday, both games are the 1250s.
Ooh.
So it's not like you can go, oh, I've played all of my 750s.
No.
I
You
can
have
just
to
think about,
yeah. You really have to keep on your toes, don't you?
This is designed to challenge all aspects of competitive players. So you can't just turn up with a great list and walk it. You can't just rely on, oh, the terrain's going to be this way. You constantly have to be at the top of your game, and that's what we want. We want to challenge people. We want to say, come here. And I think it's going to produce some really interesting results. I think there's the potential for some upsets here, for very top players to potentially drop some unexpected games, and for perhaps slightly more unheralded players to go on a streak and end up on the top tables towards the end of the event. And I think that's just going to be absolutely fantastic to see.
And with 7 games, you really also have the time to sort of people have to be on their game all the time, because I mean, how much time will you allow for each game?
So we are looking at, let me just pull up the exact time so I don't make a mistake.
Yeah.
For the 750s, we are looking at 1 hour and 30. And for the 1250s is your standard 2 hours.
Yeah.
Sorry, one second. So 2.5. Standard
2.5. Yeah.
It's all right. I promise I can count. So 1.5 and 2.5. Which that is plenty of time, I think, at a tournament.
It should be, at least for 750, and at a tournament, most people should be able to finish a game in 2.5 hours.
Exactly.
Even at 1250.
Obviously, it's a competitive event. People know the rules. People are playing through, and I think, as I say, especially with that big Saturday, that crowded schedule on Saturday, we're going to see, I think, some veteran players having to really be careful at the end in the last couple of games of that day, because there might be some people that have started weak. They've had a poor start to the day, but they've just learned their list.
They're going to be coming back up then. And
that's what we wanted. The last thing we want is for everyone to be able to tell who's going to win by lunchtime on Saturday.
That's no good.
We really want that competitive element all the way through the tournament, with people. Well, in the ideal world is it all comes down to the wire on the last game, right? That's what everyone wants.
The last game, the last turn, and the last dice. When that happens, that's amazing.
It's perfect. That's why we play competitive, right? That's why we play this game.
Yeah, it is. So who's going to be TOing all this?
So the TOs will be Gary and Colin Betts. I will be assisting, whether that's helping with rules queries, whether that's, just running around and, showing people to tables and things like that. We're also going to have Russ Wright, who obviously I think regular followers of your channel will be very aware of. He's going to be assisting the team as well, as one of the umpires. So we've got a really strong team, lots of experience, lots of, knowledge of the game. When I can say that I'm probably the one with the least experience and the least
then we should be in good hands.
We're in really good hands. We're really excited. It's a great team. I couldn't have wished for a better team of guys to help work with me on this one and to do so much of the organization. So I'm really lucky, and I think the players are really lucky too.
And of course, this will actually count into the British nationals as well, won't it?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a little bit weird this year that the Grand Tournament also incorporates the English nationals for the purpose of the British Championship. So for a lot of players, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, which is absolutely fine. But for players that are involved in the British National Series,
Yeah.
there are British Championship points on offer here.
Yeah.
And, the top player from that group will be crowned the English Nationals champion as well. So it's kind of a double whammy.
It is.
Now, next year, that is going to change just to avoid any confusion. The reason it's happened this year is because the English Nationals were already going to be at BritCon.
Yeah.
And then we came and obviously, and we made it the grand tournament as well. Yeah. And we thought, let's just leave it as it is for this year. And then next year, the English Nationals will probably move to another big event.
Yeah.
Just, for
so that it doesn't become the same tournament for every single year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so that we can show off the British Championship in its own light and on its own merits, because the guys involved with that have been doing such a good job. Like you love to see it. It's really good getting the British scene kind of back on its feet. And I'm going to keep saying after COVID, but it's impossible to overstate how much of a number that did on the competitive scene.
It did.
In a
really
lot of
did.
places. We lost a lot of good stores that were putting events on. Lots of people, kind of went, I'm going to come out of the hobby for whatever reason. And now it's just building those communities back up and supporting people.
It is. There was a real slump in newcomers and in events and stuff that happens, not just in the UK, in the European Union as well. Everywhere was everything was just, and it's picking up again. It really is.
That's why we wanted to make this, a celebration of competitive bolt action. To be able to say to guys and to girls and to players, like, look, we all love this. Let's get together and let's just kind of forget that the bad times ever happened, because the good times are here again. And I think, one of the great bits about it being in Nottingham and it being in central Nottingham, to be honest, is everyone can go out to the pubs afterwards, Everyone can go out for dinner, hang out with people that maybe they've not seen for years from overseas, or, make new friends as well. That's one of my favorite bits about going to any tournament is, getting out for a meal and a few drinks afterwards and meeting people that, I wouldn't maybe otherwise meet.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's going to be just a really good time all round. Obviously we've got this great setup for the tables, got a great setup for the TOs and for the format. And we've got a great venue. All we can ask for now is that the sun's shining and it doesn't rain too much. But we are in England, so
you can't ask for too much. The gods will only allow you so much happiness. So if you guys are not doing anything on the weekend of the 11th, 12th, or 13th of August, go to Nottingham, go fight in the grand tournament. I don't know if I will be able to attend yet myself. There are still limitations on my economy for traveling, but if I can, I will definitely be covering this anyways on this channel. But while I have you, Marcus, you've been last time we spoke, that was like half a year ago, I guess.
Yeah, there or thereabouts.
Thereabouts. We were talking about the tournament support, and you guys were getting back into supporting tournaments. How has that been going for you?
Oh, it's honestly, the response has been mind blowing. It's been so good. Obviously, the policy, the support system has been running for about a year now, maybe just a little bit over a year, I think.
Yeah.
And in that time, we've just seen this explosion of people putting really great events on all over the world. I literally mean all over the world. We had a few months ago the first ever bolt action tournament in Peru.
Yeah.
And that, the pictures from that look amazing. We're supporting events in Venezuela, Australia and New Zealand and South Africa, all over the United States. And then, of course, in Denmark, as we've got all those events going on, and all through Europe, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Poland. And it's not just been bolt action as well, which has been great. We've seen Blood Red Skies. We've seen Hail Caesar up in Scotland, which was amazing because it was a bunch of, school kids and their families playing Hail Caesar. And that's
so cool.
It was such a cool event to support. Yeah. And honestly, it's been a learning process. The system has improved and it will continue to improve because we learn every time we support an event.
Yeah.
But honestly, the community response has just been absolutely fantastic. Going from that period where there were those concerns that, either Warlord doesn't care about competitive play or Warlord only wants you to play one way. I think the number...
The exact opposite is more or less true, basically.
Just the number and diversity of events we've seen. You know, we've seen events using the Juggernaut format. We've seen events straight out of the rulebook. We've seen events with their own completely homebrew tournament formats and some really funky special rules. We've seen super themed events. We've seen super competitive events. We've seen events specifically designed to pair up veterans and beginners to help beginners get into competitive bolt action. And we've been, you know, bolt action, I think it always was global, but it's gone global in a way of...
definitely moved out. That is at least how it feels sitting in my chair. We see a lot more people from overseas, and obviously you mentioned South America. I did not know that they were playing bolt action in South America, but people in Mexico, people in Peru, people in Venezuela, people in Argentina have started to connect, and it's amazing. It's really cool.
And that's one of the things I you know, with this grand tournament. Obviously, you know, it's a bloody long way to come from, say, South America or Australia. But I would love to see that in the future as we keep building the grand tournament, as it keeps getting bigger and bigger. I would love to see representatives from all of these countries coming over, and again celebrating that we all play, you know, the same game, and we all love the same game, and we all have the same passion. And honestly, I can't thank the community enough. You know, whether that's the players, the organizers, you know, people like yourself, content creators. You know, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because it's everyone, it's all of you guys that make the game and the scene and the community what it is.
Well, thank you in response.
I'm just blown away by it, to be honest.
Yeah, that it is an amazing hobby, and one small game here for us two at the end, right? And that game is, Marcus, put on the line. You are yourself going to the grand tournament. What would you bring? What army would you bring?
So there's two answers here.
Yeah.
One is, well, people that have played me and seen me go to tournaments know that I will often bring a funny army, which involves an enormous veteran German tank. So I could do 1945 Germany with something like a Jagdpanther or a Tiger II.
And just slot that in for the last 500 points.
The last 500 points is a Jagdpanther. However, if I'm going to play competitively in a situation where I'm going and I want to win, I am probably looking at taking either my Soviets or my French, which are an ongoing project. I would say, you know, obviously with the Soviets, you know what they do: lots of dice, lots of flamethrowers, get across the board quickly, and, you know, start doing nasty things. With the French, I've been working on a few ideas revolving around lots of, obviously, you know, not inexperienced, but lots and lots and lots of regulars, because I think regulars are underrated a lot of the time.
They are, and a lot of competitive players don't use that many
People,
regulars, and I think it's a
go,
pity, actually.
People either go veterans or inex,
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said for having a lot of regular troops. So that would probably be my second choice, would be French, but playing French in a bit of a different way than, you know, the inexperienced horde with two howitzers that you see all the time. Because for me, you know, half of the joy of going to a tournament is in the list building stage and in turning up
in the training, in everything that goes ahead, building your army, painting the models that you need, and all of that.
And then that moment when you turn up and you put your army down and your opponent goes, "You what? What?
Are you sure?"
And then you go and you have a great game, and maybe you get a win with it, and your opponent's like, "I have no idea how that worked or what just happened." And that's when you know you've kind of pulled a blinder there.
You did.
So that'd be my answer. What about you, Bo? What are you?
Well, I would probably bring. I have them right here. My Ukrainian partisans, which is a project I've been working on for a while here. So these are Cossack troops, which are a mix of different, like there's a little bit of parries, there's some Warlord game stuff in here. I would probably bring those. Because just it's the army I'm building and the army I'm playing around with right now.
Yeah.
And I love cavalry. I know it's completely weird. So I would say the Eastern Front, 1942 to 1943. That sort of era, and specifically Ukraine. Yeah,
Nice.
that
And
would
that,
be
and
mine.
again, that fits the theme, you know.
It does.
And that's another thing that we do want to see is people showing off
Yep.
their themed armies. That's another thing I love about tournaments
Mm.
is people that have brought the, you know, the quality little display cases or
Yeah.
display trays that they've made, you
Yep.
know, with a little bit of fluff about their army, and it's all laid out for the painting competition. Obviously, there will be a painting competition, of course.
Obviously, which
Um,
I won't win, but somebody will.
so yeah, you know, it's just going to be such a good time, and I can't wait, honestly.
Right. Thank you so much for telling us all about it, and all the links will be in the description. I'll also include the email address for Marcus if anybody wants to get into contact with you and Warlord Games.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining me, Marcus, and it was a pleasure to talk to you. Let's
Thank
do
you.
this again in at least half a year.
Well, hey, let's do it as a recap for the GT and see how that went.
Let's do that. Let's do
Thank you
that.
so much for having me, Bo. And obviously, thank you to everyone watching. Hopefully, I'll see some of you at the GT.
We will. Right. Cheers, everyone.